Hello, everyone. This is Will Horton, Dr. Will at NLP Today, and I'm relaunching the NLP podcast, which will be on YouTube, Spotify, and however else I can figure out uh, ways to get the information out there. I've decided that the tagline is kind of like interesting things discussed by interesting people. And of course, most of my clientele or the people I hang with most are hypnotists, therapists, coaches, personal change agents, and performers, a lot of performers, actors, singers, and things like that. So it's just be kind of interesting. So today I'm interviewing Tom Nicoli, someone I've known probably 25 years.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. Who got, he came to my attention when he did that TV show. I keep wanting to say Dateline, but it wasn't Dateline.
Yeah, the Dateline NBC.
Yeah, and so it kind of put not just him on the map, but it kind of upped the level of hypnosis across the board. And I'll let him talk a little bit about that because that could be that part of his origin story. So let's just get started. And I always start with, so Tom, like I said, I've known you for probably 25 years, and I've seen changes go on, but it's usually interesting for people, what brought you into the field of hypnosis, as I call it, hypnosis and coaching and all that. Well, we learned it as hypnosis. That was long before the coaching world got started.
Right.
So what brought you in the field?
Well, I've been a musician my whole life since I was 10, right? And it was a combination of two things that led me into an indirect way of entering this profession. And it was being an entertainer and doing some personal work, which was very indirect and bizarre how I found self-hypnosis. It wasn't even a book. It was a 3-ring binder called Part-Time Riches. And because I used to always look for a side hustle, making money in different aspects and find passive income, it was always entrepreneur minded, right? So it gave this mental exercise. I'm air quoting for those who are listening. And it said, you haven't failed because of action. You're reading this. It's because of the way you think. So it gave this visualization mental exercise, and it really had an effect on me. So I started looking into it and I realized, well, wait a minute, that is freaking self-hypnosis. I didn't know that. Huh. And then I thought, you know what? As an entertainer, that hypnosis stuff looks pretty freaking awesome. So now this is 1999. I get on my 4 gig hard drive on my compact Presario computer, 4 gig hard drive, and I do a search, and I find there's this thing, the National Guild of Hypnotists, and I was in Massachusetts, and they were in New Hampshire, and then I searched for instructors, and I found there was one in the city I was living in. So I contacted him. Now remember, no cell phones or anything like that, right? And I say at the time I was married, I said to my wife, hey, look, I'll be back in about 20 minutes. I'm going to go talk to this guy. 2 hours later, I came back and she's freaking out like, where the frick were you? What's going on? I walked in and I was a full mouth reconstruction dental technician at the time. I was an implant specialist, right? And I said to her, I'm going to be a hypnotherapist. She went, what? I go, yeah, you'll see. So when I went and talked with this guy, Al Litchfield, who
Oh,
passed
I
away,
remember him. Yeah.
a few years afterward, he said, well, I could teach you that. He goes, but there's another aspect to this. And I swear to you, it was like a light bulb went off over my head like in a cartoon. Now, the peculiar part to that is I talked with Steve Rother once. Look that guy up. His journey is freaking awesome. And when I turned 50, so I'll be 66 in a few weeks. So this is a while ago. And I told him that story. He laughed. He goes, oh, you make me laugh. He goes, of course you were going to be a healer again. You've been one many, 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 many times. So it's just one of those things I was led to indirectly that I never looked back, man. It worked out really, really, really well. So I intended on doing entertainment hypnosis, stage hypnosis, and I ended up doing the work I do working with people. Though a few years later, I thought, you know what, I'm still going to do a couple of those shows. So how did I learn? I got 4 or 5 video cassettes from the Guild. One was Jerry Valley in a Chinese restaurant. One was some guy, Donahue, at a high school gymnasium. One was Scott McFall doing a show at the convention that was filmed. So I just watched them and I saw the theme. And I have enough testicular fortitude where I'm like, let's do it. So that was my training, right? So I went out and did a few shows. 2 of them went really well. One of them was kind of sketchy. But that's how I did it. I just watched these video cassettes and saw the theme. So I actually went and did it. And then after like 12 years, I'm down in St. Louis with William Mitchell speaking at his thing. And he says, so Tom, do some hypnosis shows for me later. I went, dude, I haven't done one in 12 years. He goes, you're a great hypnotist and he'd love you. So I went and did 2 or 3 shows, the prom stuff. And it went really well. So that's kind of what got me here. And then, like I said, once I got in, man, I never looked back.
Cool.
Mm,
Well, one theme you hit on that I always tell people that all the stuff we do as hypnotists in this day and age was built on the backs of stage hypnotists, right?
true.
Because most of the stage hypnotists back in the 50s, they were magicians who became stage hypnosis and that carried the field forward, right?
Hmm.
Because you and I both remember we'd be at the Guild and Dwight Damon would be there and his license plate always said magic. Didn't say
Hmm.
hypnosis because he was a practicing magician,
Hmm.
And I still say people that are performers of some kind, actors, dancers, singers, especially magicians, make better stage hypnotists because
Yeah,
they understand the show aspect,
right.
right? And
And you're comfortable being up there. And like to me, that's home. As a musician, oh, give me a microphone and a guitar or just an audience, and I'm in.
oh yeah, and the people with the background like that, especially magicians or some performers, they know it's it's not about them, it's about the show.
Hmm.
I got a couple of stage hypnotists mad at me last time I was in Vegas. I said, well, yeah, I used to do them, did a couple hundred shows. I like it, but it's like, and one of our friends, you mentioned Scott McFall said, well, instead of doing these plays and movies, you should go back to stage hypnosis. I go, it's not like performing the way I like to perform.
Hmm.
And I've seen you with your music at the conferences
Hmm.
and clips you put up and playing at clubs and things like that. But I
Hmm.
got the hypnotist man. I go, well, I always say it like this. If you can't sing, you can't dance, you can't play music, you can't do magic, but you want to be a star, you become a stage hypnotist.
You said something though that when you're on stage, you realize it's about the audience, right? Well, it's the same thing when you bring that to your office. It's about the person in front of you. It's not about you.
Yeah. So, and I know when you were on the Dateline show, and it was give us a quick overview of that for people that don't remember it.
Oh,
It's been long enough. A lot of people now don't remember.
so it went from 2003 into 2004, and over 10 months, there were 3 episodes. And it was that long because it was 6 different approaches to weight loss, where there were 6 people going to their 25th high school reunion in Massachusetts. When they gave me a pastry chef out of the 6 people, I said, are you stacking the deck? Like, what are you doing? And they said, no, 5 of the 6 wanted to work with the hypnotist, which was pretty cool to hear, right? So my guy, percentage-wise, did better than anybody. Plus, he did it without all the angst and all the pressure and all the stress. He's like, I don't know, I just want to. I don't know, I just don't want to. And so that's when things got like mental. And I didn't know anything. I had just started. I had recently been bankrupt. And I found an office for $100 a month, and it was 8 feet by 8 feet. It was a storage closet that they were renting out in this small little building. Um, and it was, I think, a psychiatrist used it before me, and he used to just go there to do paperwork, just to get out of the house, right? So I thought I could hypnotize you in the front seat of the car. So this is plenty. And Dateline filmed in that office. It was bizarre how the cables and the machinery and the cameras and all this in this tiny little freaking section of a building. So it got to the point where I had no idea, no expectations at all. I didn't know what was going to happen. But what ended up happening was I got so many calls, and I didn't know anything other than if you worked, you got paid, right? I didn't know systems and put on staff and do admin. And okay, that came later. So I was just adding sessions, and they kept calling. And I had always at least 80 people on this is a legal pad. This is the old days of keeping notes. On a legal pad, I had their name and number, and I had to get back to them to book them in. I got to the point I was scheduled 3 months in advance, and I was doing 105 sessions a week, 15 1 hour sessions, 7 days a week. So when people go, I get exhausted. I do 20 sessions a week and I'm fatigued. I'm like, really? Like, really? Are you kidding me? So that was the start of it all. And then little did I know, when I first went to when I went to the first convention, Elson ended up calling me, and I'm in and how I used to get through the days, they're filling out their intake form, and I'm in the driveway eating a banana or something. So he happened to call at that time, and he asks, I'm going to the convention, and I said, well, let me ask you this: if we met? He goes, well, no. I go, yeah, I don't go. He goes, well, we want to give you an award, and that's what lured me in. So like a bass, I went after the shiny lure, and they pulled me in. And I realized, man, there's a lot of stuff I missed out on. But because I was the flavor of the month, there was a line. Remember the Sheridan, that hallway went all the way down the building. And there was a line of people waiting to thank me for their new Harley, for their new business, for the addition to their home, because they were making so much money because so many people were seeking out hypnotists. Like you said, it helped the profession itself, right? And that's what that whole Dateline thing was about. And then things settled down. I pulled back to 90 sessions a week. And then I pulled back more. And now I'm at the point where, man, I don't do more than 15. But programs are different, dollar value is different, my clientele's different.
What are you passionate about working with now? Like a lot of us who started with weight loss and it's gone and what's your thing now, Tommy? Mr.
Well,
Tom?
the two things that I've got rolling right now, and one of them has been for a while, is a program from stress to success. And it's for executives and business owners, career professionals, where their stress and anxiety, especially in America, we wear it like a badge. But the phrase work smarter than harder is what we want to do. So these people could have maybe career advancement, they could have better outcomes, they could have a better quality of life if they could just learn how to manage their stress and anxiety rather than just wearing it like 24/7 like clothing. Also, there's the business side of what we do. So I'm an audience, a target audience that can afford the services, you know what I mean? And I learned a lot during all those sessions. I learned you don't work with just everybody. That's the biggest mistake you can make. Saying no is a wonderful thing sometimes. And doing it gracefully. I'm just not the right guy for you. Oh, no, I've seen you. I want to work with you. Yeah, I get that. Thank you. But and then when they leave, you thank God they left because you realize and learn we're not for everybody. You align with the people that energetically work well with you, and then you're going to get better results anyway. So it's again smarter than harder, using systems. Well, things have changed though. I mean, look what we're doing, right? Technology has just changed everything. We've been around long enough to remember mimeograph paper to make a copy between two sheets of white paper. That
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So yeah, I work with the executives, and then also now I'm the mind mechanic, as it were. The mindset coach for a golfer in Massachusetts who has a facility there, and he's a golf instructor, and they're rolling out a program at their facility to now add to their physical mechanics of teaching people how to golf and bringing in the owner's mind mechanic, me, and offering this service now to their people. So um, it's a great market because they understand, as Arnold Palmer said, golf's a game of inches, and the most important six are between your ears. And that if you're only working on your physical mechanics and not your mind, managing your stress, your tension, your lack of confidence, and all that kind of stuff, but then your game fails or it suffers. So that's the second main groove that I'm doing right now.
Oh, cool. Well, yeah, I've worked with a few golfers. One thing fun about golfers is they usually pay because they'll throw a $300 putter in the lake.
That's right. And again, I mean, this is just the way it goes, man. There was a time when I had that attitude of, all right, what do I have to do to get you into a car today? I mean, anybody I'd on board, right? Now, my attitude is I sell Rolls Royces and Bentleys. Would you like one? Yeah, but I can't afford it. Like, I understand that, but that's what I got.
Cool. Cool.
Mm.
We're not done yet, but how, because I'll put it also in, I think they call them show notes down at the bottom in the contact info.
Mhm.
How do people get in touch with you, by the way, Mr. Tom? Because you've moved in the last 5 years.
Yeah, well, even when I moved, I had an office in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, and then I had shut those down and worked out of the front room of my home in New Hampshire, which was my study. But even then, I had 70% of my people online. When people got hip to doing Zoom sessions, I was doing Skype sessions in 2003 and 2004 when I started speaking around the world or people found out about me online. So this is not new. And the benefits are tremendous. And you miss out on nothing. Oh, so you can't do an arm drop. Okay, fine. Who cares? That's okay. So my work's been online only for like the last 8-ish years, 7 years, something like that. And my websites are abetteryouhypnosis.com, and the coaching, hypnosis-based coaching, is mastervisionary.com.
I love
So
that name. I love
it's
that name.
tapping back into the master visionary we were born as.
Cool.
Mm.
Cool. Um, Tell us about a client that you either had to fire or, it's like, because like you say, sometimes we're so empathetic, a lot of us, we want to, but yeah, but it's interesting to know because you and I were talking before we started that a lot of people act like I work with everybody and I do everything. Well, it's
Well, I
you're a
remember
musician.
Orman.
You're a musician for
I
your
remember Gillen said he saw this gentleman's card in Orman, right? Being Orman, he was like, look at this gentleman's card, and had all these things he worked on. And I chuckled, thinking, how can you be an expert at all of that? I was like, good point, right? Two people come to mind. One was, and this is when I even say to people on a strategy call, all right, why are we even talking? Why bother? Well, because I want to blank. Smoke 5 packs of cigarettes a day, weigh 300 pounds. Why bother? Like, what's the point? Why should we even do this? I want to make sure they're truly engaged, right? Well, back when, if you bought a program for your wife or husband and they came in, I'd work with them instead of interviewing them first, right? Well, this woman came in, everything was great. Then her husband showed up the next day and she bought a program for him too. And he showed up like a stereotypical Boston legal, chinos, blue blazer, red bow tie, blue pinstripe shirt, and his glasses. He sits in my recliner and he crosses his legs and he looks and he goes, so, tell me about you. The old me came out and I took my glasses and I just tossed them on my desk and I go, really? I go, that's what you're here for? I go, well, you could have looked me up before you came. You could have asked your wife. I said, that isn't what we're here for. And you don't come into my office and run the session. So if you want to do this, we can do it. If not, no problem. You can go. We did the session, but he never came back. So that was my way of dismissing him, right? There was another one where I do not like, who was it? Dave Chappelle once in the actor studio in an interview, they said, what word do you love? What word do you hate? He said, I hate the word crazy because the word crazy, you immediately dismiss someone. Well, I don't use the word, but I'm telling you, this woman that had come in was off. I mean, off to a point where you didn't have to do this kind of work to know there was something wrong. And she watched me and she got referred to me, and I was the guy. I was the one. And it took about 20 minutes, at least 20 minutes for me to get her to the point where she accepted, I'm really not the one for you. There's somebody out there that's right for you, and the worst thing I'll ever do is get in that way. Finally, she accepted that. When she left, I thought, thank you, God. So your spidey senses or intuition shows up and says to you, yeah, you don't want to do this.
Good
But other than
points.
that, there were people that, it could have gone better if we had different rapport. We weren't aligned that well. Um, but those two, I pretty much like, yeah, you could just go home. I'll see you later. Bye.
Well, and I've heard you say in some of your talks when I've listened at the guild and places, uh, and the old trainers used to stress this, and I hope they bring it back where in your training they would tell you, that like you use the term about hypnosis is magical, but it's not magic.
Mhm.
And I'll let you talk about that. But the guy would, I remember when I took my training, uh, he he said there are certain things that like is beyond our purview. Chronically mentally ill,
Mhm.
skits. Now that I'm a psychologist, I could go schizoaffective disorder, all this. But it's
Mhm.
like, you got, and I hear at this last conference, I heard people talking about that. That,
Mhm.
if you're under the care of a psychologist or especially a psychiatrist, okay, that could be a warning, real white Riker.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, but
Yeah.
tell us how you came up with that hypnosis is magical, but it's not magic.
Well, because I kept hearing people talk about it as the cure-all, which is just bullshit. It's a lie. It has its place. It can do phenomenal things. But this is with the letter E, complementary. That's why it's called complementary medicine or complementary service. It's a complement to other things, right? So to say to become a hypnotist, and I guess you got to go through the process. So like I used to be real defensive and all that until I realized, fine, you can say what you want about it, whatever, I don't care. Yeah, I've been fooling people for 26 years, no problem. So the attitude is such where you got to know your scope of practice, right? It also maybe you can do things with this person, but you're not yet qualified. That's the other part that really gets me. When people are dabbling in areas they should not be. Like that one person we know from the past, and she was doing addiction work, and she has no addiction counseling training, education behind her other than being a good hypnotist. So there are places where I think some of us step in the pond that we shouldn't be in. So yeah, it's magical, but it's not magic. It's you don't just wave a wand and all of a sudden, woo, everything is just different and your life has changed. It's a process, man. And you got to work with the practitioner that suits your needs, right?
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned the name Orman McGill that we remember. Uh,
Hmm.
I was hearing him talk once, and I took one of his lines when I'd be talking to people. People be asking me about. I go, well, kind of like the hypnosis is like magic, but it's not But
Hmm.
I'd say because this is what Orman said. The great thing about hypnosis, will it work at one session? Maybe, maybe not. But you always know by three or four. You won't be stuck in psychotherapy for the next 6 years. And it's not for every. And I heard him say that it's not for every. Of course, he had that what's it? Panache was the word I would
Hmm.
I would use.
Hmm.
And he
Hmm.
goes, it's not for everybody, and that's okay. And he was so
Hmm.
calm about it. Yeah.
Exactly. And just like a stage hypnotist will say, just because you didn't respond this time doesn't mean you can't be hypnotized because it's a natural process that goes on all day long. And, it's part of life. It's just at this moment, you're just not responding for whatever reasons. And like sometimes I'll say, okay, so for whatever reasons that we don't even know about, there's something going on where it's just not time. You obviously just not ready. As a matter of fact, I had one client, this guy Bill, and he was one of the people that took responsibility. You know what I mean? He wasn't passing the buck. And he came in like three different times over the course of a couple of years to stop smoking. So the second time he said to me, you know what I actually realized? I must not be ready. And I thought, man, that's taking some responsibility, right? The third time though, he quit. And you know what he said to me? You know what I figured? I'm paying you all this freaking money. I might as well stop.
Oh yeah.
But it was great that he said that Because when you say that to somebody, they get a little offended. You go, I I really believe that for whatever reasons, it's not time. You're not really ready to let this go or ready to make this change. What do you mean? Yes, I am. I'm here. I'm paying you. I want this. Consciously, yeah, but there's something else going on here. You've experienced this stuff, man.
Oh yeah, and he could riff a little bit on working in rehabs, which I just recently stopped at another one I was doing consulting. But
Mm.
like you said, with that guy that came a couple times, or I've had people come several times, and when I was doing the road shows, as we call them, the Holiday Inn shows
Oh yeah,
for
yeah,
Stop
yeah, yeah.
Smoking, as many people would come several times. But to me, it goes back to the addiction world where a good addiction counselor say, maybe you won't get it this time, but your brain is listening. In
Mm-hmm.
the addiction world, somebody would say, yeah, when I woke up with a hangover after saying I wasn't going to drink, maybe these people were right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
so,
man.
so yeah.
There's so many moving parts to this, you know. There's so many factors, elements, components, whatever, and you don't know them all consciously. And that's why, I say, well, I mean, we're not going to know until we start doing the work.
Right.
I
And
mean, because you've seen it happen, right? Where you're in the middle of a session and then they have a response. Like I remember once, excuse me, um, as I'm saying something to this woman, and her and her sister were covered by Fox News in Boston during one of the times I was followed on media. And she made this face like, hmm. And I immediately said, Midge, don't think, just observe. And afterward, what she told me made all the sense in the world. Well, what happened was they were both doing really, really well. They were losing weight, um, and everything was going just wonderfully. She came back after a few months and said, I'm eating pasta like it's my job. So she made this face because she afterwards told me, well, I pictured all of a sudden I was home with my mom, sick, staying home from school. And when I did that, she used to make me macaroni and butter and we'd sit and watch I Love Lucy. And I'm just looking at it going, and you don't get this? You just said it out loud. I said, do you understand the association to mom's love and care was macaroni? And you took it out of your quote unquote diet. Your diet isn't sacrificing, it's whatever you consume, right? So you took it out of your diet, and your mind was like, oh, no, 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 no. We need that association. And she was like, oh my God, I never thought of that. Like, but it seems kind of obvious to me, but she didn't put two and two together. So sometimes we don't know until, we get in there, as we say. We're
true.
not going to know consciously.
Yeah. As we get ready to wind down, a lot of the people I'm interviewing is one reason I'm drawn to them because I've always said, like, I love hypnosis, NLP, and all the stuff I do, but I have passions, as you well know, outside of this. For many
Mm-hmm.
years it was martial arts and some stuff, but it's always been acting. And I know you're
Mm-hmm.
an avid musician, not just a world class, by the way. I can say that from seeing you perform. Uh,
Thank you.
but and you keep doing it. And let me ask you a weird question. How do you think having a passion like music could be anything, but outside of our field, makes you a better hypnotist coach?
Oh, yeah, I do coach hypnotists. It's because you tap into your creative self, you know? Like I'd say we're all from the source of creation, and there's creativity within all of us. It might be woodworking, it might be arranging flowers, but when you're not in some sort of creative action, a big part of you is missing. And I believe that when we're tapped into our creative selves, that we have a whole different ability intuitively and well, just intuitively, you know. I was going to say and subconsciously, but that's all subconscious. And it gives us also a wider perspective of things instead of just the human narrow logic and focus of what makes sense, what doesn't, conscious thinking and all that, right? No, because when you're creative, like, even acting or playing music or whatever, which I've been doing now for, Jesus, 66, 56 years. And I've done the albums and the tours and all that shit, with the hair bands in the 80s. I still look different. Um, that when you get into this space, how you realize and know that there's so much more than just what your brain can do is when you do things unconsciously, right? Like you say that line, or you do this move, and the director goes, "That was perfect." You go, "What? What was perfect?" You don't even know you did it. All of a sudden, you play something. You're like, "Holy shit, where'd that come from?" Because you step out of the limitation of self and you step into the possibilities that are just open and endless, right? And I think it just gives you a whole different approach to when you're engaged with somebody.
Sound like Milton Erickson there, where is you to do trance, you go into trance, and then you can
Right?
take the people into trance, which is what music
Right?
is, or good acting, that being in the moment
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Like that woman I mentioned, Midge, her sister, Janet, who was, part of the whole bit that they were following on TV. I did a session with her, and it was about making a decision, a very important life decision. And I said, like that feeling being on top of a mountain, seeing the whole landscape and feeling is powerful. And I'm going on and on and on. When we get done, she goes, "I almost opened my eyes. I go, "Why?" She goes, "Because you freak me out." She goes, "You said be in a place where you can make the biggest decision of your life." And I remembered I was skiing with my girlfriend in the Alps. And I decided as we were about to make this run, I'm going to divorce my husband. And you started describing the place. That's when you're in sync. That's when you're aligned,
Do 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 do
right?
do.
But Al used to tell me, my instructor, he goes, "Look, we're all pulling from the same information. So when somebody says, 'That's my idea,' we're all pulling the ideas from the same place."
Yeah.
And when you allow yourself, like, how many times will have you, and I used to even in my head say this, "The hell am I going to tell this one today?" I get up from my desk, walk over to the recliner and go, "Okay, let's see how this one goes." And all of a sudden it just flows, right? When you just shut up and listen and allow, and you just begin your induction, and before you know it, oh my God, it's there. And you know exactly what to say, and they'll say afterwards, "That was amazing. That was the best session, or that was perfect."
That's
Right?
yeah. Oh yeah. Not to share another war story with you, but I will real quick. I was doing a demo at one of those stop smoking things, had a guy up there, and he was in light trance. I was talking to him. I said, so it's going to be like lit up like a runway at night with all the lights. So you'll be able to come in for a smooth. And then after we're done, he comes back. He goes, "Did my wife tell you I was a pilot?"
That's what I mean.
And I'm like, "No, just kidding."
Right. Like, why would you pick that, right?
Cool.
That's what I mean. And anyone who's done this work either long enough or from the kind of the right perspective, they know this. The people who don't know this, they've yet to really do this work.
Cool. All right. Well, one more time, how do people get in touch with you if they have questions or just to follow you and stuff like
Well,
that?
my email and my phone numbers are at Prosper USA is the short PROSPER USA, Prosper USA. But you can type in a betteryouhypnosis.com and get a redirect, and mastervisionary.com. One is, the straight coaching site. The other one is the straight hypnosis site I've had for, 26 years.
Cool.
But yeah, man. And people can reach out and ask me anything. It isn't as if we got to book a session. Just, if there's something you want to know, something you want to talk about, we can jump on a call.
Well, one of the reasons I wanted to ask you, one of the first, all the people I reached out at first, um, and you came to mind, is you willingly share information. I see you do it at the Gill. We were out in Vegas. I'd see people,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not like, oh, I'm going to hold it close
Oh,
to the vest. It's
no,
like, you know,
no, man. Yeah, you can't play scared poker like that. You know, I don't know. It's the way I am, but it's also self-serving because you get what you give kind of thing. And plus, I mean, what do you think? You got the secret to Fort Knox or something? Come on. Like we're all in this shit together, man.
yeah. Well, it's like, close with someone we both know because we used to see him at the Guild, and I've been in touch with him since, is Joe Vitale.
Hmm.
And he would always say, give away your best stuff,
Right,
and they'll give you more money for the little stuff.
right. I mean, come on, lighten up.
Yeah. Yeah.
People
And we're
take
both
anything
getting to the age where you realize you're not getting out of this alive anyway. So,
right. You know what I mean? And it's true. We're all in this together, man. it's like, help that person who can't get their stuff in their car, or pull over and say, hey man, you need a ride or something, or whatever it may be. I mean, be safe. But yeah, I don't understand people who, well, I do understand, it's insecurities and all that bullshit. But yeah, man, of course, those of us who get it, we'll share anything. It's like, what do you want to know? All right, well, I mean, how much you can charge? I'm not going to charge you. What do you want to know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Cool. All right, Mr. Tom, I like to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You're one of my favorite people. I've
Thank
known
you,
you
man.
and one of the
Thank
few
you.
in the field I never really had a big fight with about it.
What's that say about you, Horton?
I know it's yeah, yeah. You spot it, you got it. That's that. So yeah, I hope people get in touch with you. And so again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Love you, brother.
Yeah,
And
right
keep
on.
keep doing the good work.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.